world where colors had not yet learned their own language, a shadow was born, a shadow that with time would force those colors to scream. Before Vincent van Gogh saw his first sunrise, he was already marked. Before he drew his first breath, he was already carrying a sentence written in silence. Vincent van Gogh was born on March 30th, 1853, in the small Dutch village of Zundert, but he did not arrive alone. He arrived, accompanied by an absence. He arrived bearing a weight that no child should ever have to carry. 1 year earlier, on March 30th, 1852, another child had been born in that same house. That child was stillborn, and that child carried the exact same name: Vincent van Gogh. His grave lay in the small cemetery beside the church where the family lived. Every time young Vincent stepped outside his home, he walked past a tombstone engraved with his own name. Not a metaphor, not a coincidence, a literal marker of death bearing his identity. It was not only a lost brother, it was a pre-written destiny, a reflection carved in stone, a ghostly double reminding him that someone else had already occupied his place in the world. From the cradle, Vincent grew beneath the shadow of a dead child with his own face. And with that symbol planted into the soil, tragedy sowed its first seed. His father, Theodorus van Gogh, was a strict Protestant pastor, a man of rigid beliefs and a voice stripped of warmth. Faith, for him, was duty, discipline, and obedience. His mother, Anna Cornelia Carbentus, was different. She loved flowers, embroidery, and the quiet rituals of beauty. She carried within her a restrained artistic sensitivity, subtle yet powerful, one that would prove far more influential than anyone could have predicted. It was she who placed a pencil in Vincent's hand and taught him to draw as a way to calm the storm inside him. But Vincent did not simply copy the world. He consumed it. He absorbed it with an intensity that unsettled those around him. At 4 years old, while other children scribbled animals or crooked houses, Vincent was already sketching branches, faces, and church details with disturbing seriousness. He rarely played freely. He seemed distant, withdrawn, as if his consciousness existed on a heavier plane. He was a quiet child, marked by a gaze that made adults uncomfortable. A fixed, solemn gaze, far too serious for his age, as if observing the world demanded more strength than living within it. His family considered him difficult, overly sensitive, prone to crying spells or long periods of silence. And yet, he was deeply devout. For years, they believed he would follow his father into the ministry. They took him regularly to church, where he listened to sermons not as comfort, but as a form of sacred punishment. From the beginning, his relationship with God was conflicted. On one hand, he feared him with devotion. On the other, he questioned him relentlessly in silence. Decades later, in his letters, Vincent would write that nature itself was a temple far more profound than any altar built by man. That vision was shaped in the fields of Brabant, walking among cows, mud, and skies pressed down by mist. There he learned to observe human misery with both compassion and brutal clarity. It was there that his first great internal conflict emerged. The beauty of the world did not align with human suffering. The two existed side by side, never reconciled. That fracture would scar his soul permanently. In school, Vincent did not excel. Mathematics escaped him. History bored him. But he could disappear for hours into the margins of his notebooks, drawing twisted faces, elderly figures worn down by labor, blackened trees, and hunched bodies crushed by life. His teachers described him as introverted, unsuited for group work, burdened with an imagination that felt excessively dark. At home, tension was constant. His father attempted to correct him through discipline. His mother offered partial protection, though even she struggled with his resistance and volatility. At 11, Vincent was sent to a boarding school in Zevenbergen. There, isolation became unbearable. The few letters he sent home reveal a child already acquainted with despair. He suffered from insomnia, episodes of deep sadness, and developed a habit that would follow him for the rest of his life. Long, aimless walks. He walked to think. He walked to forget. He walked to escape himself. In 1866, at 13, he transferred to secondary school in Tilburg. There he received his first formal drawing lessons. His teacher immediately recognized an unusual sensitivity. Yet, even there, Vincent's performance remained inconsistent. After just 1 year, he abandoned his studies without explanation, adding another quiet failure to his growing history. He returned home, defeated, quieter than ever. His family, now resigned, accepted a painful truth. Vincent might never be like the other children. Not brilliant, not obedient, not successful. His apparent salvation came through a relative. His uncle, an influential art dealer, secured him a position as an apprentice at the Gallery Goupil and C in The Hague. Vincent was 16 years old. It was his first real contact with the art world, not as a creator, but as a salesman, forced to treat art as merchandise. The boy who had grown up beneath the shadow of his own grave had entered the world of art through the wrong door. As the years passed, Vincent moved from city to city, from hope to collapse. London, Paris, Belgium. Each place promised meaning. Each place delivered disappointment. He sought love and was rejected. He sought God and was expelled. He sought purpose and found only exhaustion. In the coal mines of Borinage, Belgium, his clothes, his bed, his comfort. He slept on the floor, walked barefoot in winter, shared his food with miners whose faces were blackened by coal and despair. They called him the Christ of the mines. Even the church found him excessive, too intense, too disturbing. They dismissed him. It was there, at the lowest point of his spiritual collapse, that Vincent found the one thing that remained: drawing. He could still observe a face, a lamp, a pair of worn hands, and feel compelled to capture them. Art became his final lifeline. Not a hobby, not a dream, a necessity. At 27, Vincent made his final decision. He would become an artist. Not for money, not for fame, but because he could not do anything else. He wrote to his brother Theo with clarity born of desperation. Even if I never sell a single painting, I want to show the humanity of broken people. What followed was a decade of poverty, obsession, and relentless work. He painted peasants, laborers, worn faces, empty chairs, dark interiors. His colors were heavy, his lines brutal, his technique imperfect but honest. He worked as if possessed, convinced that if he stopped, he would disappear. In Paris, his palette exploded. Light entered his work. Colors became emotion itself. Yellow, blue, green, vibrating with urgency. He absorbed influences, but never imitated. He transformed everything. Then came Arles. The sun, the house, the dream of a community. The dream collapsed into madness. Arguments, isolation, hallucinations. And one night, the razor, the ear, the blood, the silence. Still, he painted more than ever, as if painting was the only thing holding his mind together. Starry nights, twisting skies, fields that screamed instead of resting. In the asylum of Saint Remy, surrounded by locked doors and suffering voices, Vincent created some of the most powerful images in the history of art. Not despite his illness, but through it. His paintings became maps of his inner storms. In his final months, in Auvers-sur-Oise, he painted with unbearable urgency. One canvas after another. Fields, roads, skies, each one heavier than the last. On July 27th, 1890, Vincent walked into a field with a revolver. He shot himself in the chest. He did not die immediately. He returned to his room. He waited. 2 days later, at 37 years old, Vincent van Gogh died. He sold one painting in his lifetime. One. After his death, the world woke up too late. His brother followed him into the grave months later. His legacy was rescued by a woman who refused to let him vanish. And slowly, painfully, the world began to listen. Today, his paintings hang in museums. His name is spoken with reverence. His suffering is quoted, his madness romanticized. But what remains is something far more human. A man who failed repeatedly, who was rejected constantly, who was broken and lonely, and yet never stopped creating. Vincent van Gogh did not become immortal because he suffered. He became immortal because he persisted, because he turned pain into color, because he refused silence. And in every swirling sky, every wounded field, every restless brushstroke, he is still speaking, still asking to be seen, still asking to be understood.